So today we are together with Miklos Stocker from Corvinus University of Budapest. Hello, Miklos, and thank you for joining.
Good morning, Peter. Thank you for the introduction. Maybe a little bit more info about me. I'm an associate professor and head of the Institute of Strategy and Management at the Corvinus University of Budapest. And therefore, I use EDUardo software in my strategy courses.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the introduction. And our aim today is to make an overview and summary from the professor point of view, the teacher point of view, about how to run a competition simulation. So not like the self-learning, e-learning case use of the simulation, but a competition use of that. And you did several such experiments. And I'd like to ask your the details of your experience, and also I think these findings could be useful for those who are planning such courses in the future. We will also share the screen and show some statistics from these past events. But just to start with, can you please tell me why you do group-based exercises and what is your general expectation when you arrange such a course?
Okay, I'm really happy to share information about that. But before I would do that, let me tell everyone who will watch this video that it is amazing to run the competition. I highly suggest you to do that. Maybe first it's challenging because you don't know what to expect, and there has to be some kind of management of the whole course itself. But that's why we do the video to let me share my experience and let me tell you how to do it in the easiest and maybe the most helpful way. So first question always why to do it, and as I said in the introduction that I'm usually using it in my strategy courses. There is a huge let's say disadvantage of strategy courses. We can talk a lot about strategy, we can do a lot of analysis, create new initiatives, even invite guest lecturers, but at the end of the day students are not close to the decisions and they don't feel the impact of their decisions on their own skin. It means that basically they can do whatever they want in the analysis. They can suggest and recommend whatever they want to the companies because there is no real time and no real feedback. Of course, if we have company representatives and experienced professors and jury members, then we can use very realistic feedbacks. But what I realized that if the students would be able to be in a competitive environment when their decisions will have its impacts and they will have to rethink their strategies and create and solve their problems, that would be or that could be really helpful. So that's exactly what the competition part of the EDUardo simulation can do. I use the value-based management model, and then we create the competition as group competitions. So the basic expectation, what I always have, that they should have a strategy. They should create a strategy for the company, and then as the competition goes on and on, because there are several turns, let's say several months or several years, which would have happened in the real life after the decisions, they always have to uh, understand what the outcome of their decisions were, what the outcome or what the impact of the other team's decisions are, because definitely, as in the competitive environment, one team is connected to the other teams, and other teams' decisions can change the market. So, therefore, the market expectations, the competitor analysis, the market analysis, everything should be combined. And therefore, in some different places, the teams maybe will have to change their strategy, or maybe it is a self-reinforcing thing that their strategy was very good and they can go on and on. So basically the expectation is to give a simulation experience of, let's say, real life top management decision making. And the best students who can graduate from a school wouldn't be top managers after graduation. So it takes long, long years up till they will be in a seat to make decisions like they can do in the in the simulation. Or maybe if they would create an SME, then it would be a little bit shorter time period. But the thing is that that guarded experience, that they can do decisions, their skin is on the market. That's what the simulation and the competition part of the simulation can do.
Okay, thank you. And we will, of course, come back at the very end of how your exact expectations were met in this particular exercise. When you think about scheduling this exercise, let's think about a semester. So how do you position it inside of this course? I mean, time-wise and preparation-wise.
Time-wise, I tried several options, and I believe the best way is if the simulation takes place on the second part of the semester, because everybody have to do an individual experience before to understand how the software works, to understand how basically the whole simulation works, and also they have to learn some topics in the class as well. So we have analysis topics, we have uh, a purpose setting and strategic objective setting topics, which they have to learn before they would be able to do that. So for me, the best was when it took part in the second part of the semester, and it was imperative that it shouldn't last longer than the regular semester, because the students essays and uh, most of the exams are positioned in the last week and the first week of examination period, so we have to be finished before that, because if we go longer, then they will not have time to play. Or what they could do as a, let's say, shortcut, which is always a worst thing the worst thing to do, that they don't do any analysis, just do a quick decision, because they don't have time for really thinking it through, and that's definitely hurting the quality of the game. So start in the second part of the semester and end approximately 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the semester.
Okay,
And
and
just one more thing,
oh, sorry.
I do a presentation, so they have to present at the end, because
Mhm.
all the experience what they got, they will have to create a presentation on that, and that presentation should also be before the last week of the whole semester. So that's basically the logic, and it's good if they have some time before rounds. So or turns should be allocated in 2 3 days, and I always talk with that with the students. We have an agreement then in which days there will be the turns, and then they know that in, let's say, each and every Monday evening and Wednesday evening and Saturday evening they should be together in the team, and they should solve the given turns challenges on that given day.
Mhm. Thank you very much. And what I wanted to point out, you mentioned that you do a preparation option for the students. So it means that you combine the self-running exercise of the simulation and also the group base. And the self-run is before the group base, so they can individually experiment of the environment of the simulation. Then they are not in a competition phase; they are individuals. And I guess it also saves you time because you don't need to explain the setup. They just experiment it by themselves. Do you have other expectation from them than this when they do this self-running exercise? So other than exploring, do you also give some task for the individual run?
I don't give any task, but it's exactly to what you just said. So it's mostly about exploring the software and understanding the whole simulation and how the environment of the simulation works. Uh, Although, as there are a pretty big knowledge base, if they don't understand something, they don't have to turn to me and ask what this or that means, but they can use the knowledge base. So they can also top up their knowledge. If they don't know anything about company valuation, then definitely when the turn comes, when the company valuation is done, there is a lot of hint, and they can go back to the knowledge base and they can understand that. And it's very different how students are engaged in the individual one. There are some people who are extremely enthusiastic. There are some people who do it pretty well and like it, and there are some people who are not that enthusiastic. So that's why I just let them do what they would like to. Let them run as many times as they can. Uh, I even remember some of the guys were making 13 games before the competition, which I think is extreme, but he definitely loved the game because that's why he played that many times and could find out some strategies. But I also tell them that those strategies which work in the individual is not 100% sure that will work in the competition. And especially, usually, a lot of or some people wants to do a very aggressive strategy in the individual, and I tell them all the time that do not do very aggressive strategy in the beginning of the competition, because if they do, then not only them but other teams will also go bankrupt, and that's not the aim of the whole simulation, to show them that if they do stupid decisions then they go bankrupt. They should experience that on the individual one, but on the competition part I always tell them this. And I also give them the opportunity to do the individual after the competition,
Mhm.
because definitely that's a very good experience and a different experience to use the competition, but then they can go back and they can have also some, maybe a new strategy, or maybe just some new challenges or what they want. And some of them takes a few more rounds after the competition as well.
Of course, a big difference is that in the competition phase, the market is themselves mainly, and while in the individual one, the market is fully simulated, and of course, the dynamism is totally different. Let's look at the screen a little bit now, and I just go into the competition part, and created a sample one right now. So when we create a simulation, I just made some examples of the schedule. So you can have a selected type of the simulation. So which model you use. You can, as a trainer teacher, you can schedule the rounds. We will come back to this, and also add the members. If it's a group-based exercise, which you typically follow, then not individuals are presented, but groups. So if I may go back to this competition that we will use as an example, here you had the rounds and the participating teams, and these were the schedules of the rounds. Can you please tell me a few words about how to set up the teams first of all before going into the schedule? So because you use teams and not individuals, the first question: why this is your decision? Because you could have individual students participating as participants of the competition, but as I saw, you typically opt for having teams.
Yes, it's exactly. It's a very important part of the learning environment and the learning objectives, that they should know that these decisions, if we are talking about real company top management decisions, are usually not done by alone by the CEO. So there could be some companies, and if we go back to leadership models, we will see that there would be maybe 35% of the managers who are mostly opt to do individualistic decisions, but some of them even realize that that's not that helpful, and it's much more efficient, and it's much more important to do it, and it's even more successful to do it in teams. So we always try to suggest that that teamwork is essential. We give a lot of teamwork exercise in several courses, and that's why there are different competencies, different ideas, different expectations from different members, so they could create a team which can help each other and which can complement each other. So basically, the idea is that someone should be responsible for the markets mostly, all of them will be responsible for the whole, and there will be someone who will act as a CEO. So he or she will have a little bit bigger responsibility, but all the others also share some of his. So someone should be more focused on the market analysis or the competitors, some of them for the production, some of them for the finances. Usually, I opt for four-member teams. I don't think I ever had more than four members in a team. Sometimes we have three. It's according to student numbers, so it's sometimes it's not divisible, but four, so it's not a problem at all. The only thing is that that means that a little bit bigger task is on each other's uh, neck or shoulder, let's say. Uh, According to the other task outside the simulation, the group will have to create a strategy. Again, creating a strategy is much better if you are in team because it means you can challenge the other one, you can have different viewpoints, you can really share your perspectives and have a lot of very good ideas just because there are some other members. So most probably, again, the different competencies are really helping this thing as well. And we always try to suggest and recommend to the students that try to get groups where there are different interests. Again, the usual things are somebody should focus a little bit more on the finances, somebody should focus a little bit more on HR, somebody should focus a little bit more on markets, and then it, it should add up. So what they should do in the beginning, they should make a team decision on what kind of strategy they would like to have. Let's say we have six teams. Let's say six of them would go that they should have a differentiation based strategy because they don't know how the others opt. So they go into the game. They know from their individual experience that the differentiation strategy would be nice or wouldn't be, depending on how they played. And then it turns out that the market shows that they couldn't even differentiate themselves because the others were playing the same strategy. So then definitely someone will get the market analysis, some other will have new ideas, then they will uh, work with each other, and then they can modify if they want to modify anything.
And do you help them to define these roles, or it's up? So what is your approach? I see some teachers who are defining the roles. Let's say a four-member team. These are the four roles. These are the responsibilities, and select one of them. Or do you more follow like laissez-faire? You give them find your own roles. What is your experience in that?
A few years ago, I had a much more hands-on approach. But according to the new course structure, I've implemented this game in a course which is for master students mostly, and therefore I usually let them to create their own roles, and to save time and energy, I don't create new teams. I already have the teams in the class. They work together in case studies, solving case
Mm-hmm.
studies before, which means that they already knew each other, they already knew how to work with each other, and that fastens up the whole process. If I would have a class just focused on the game itself, then definitely I would make some methods to understand the team roles, what they uh, either like or they can be good at, and that's how I would put them together. So there could be this more hands-on approach could work, but that means that I need to devote more time from the course to this, and I didn't have that much time. So what I said, I used the already existing teams, and I used on that sense let's say for approach that they can work how they work, but they already have the regular working experience. And it's interesting that simulation is different than a case solution, because in a case solution they do something and it's delivered, but in a simulation there's a feedback, but an instant feedback and an instant financial or very specifically measured feedback, that how much percent your market share became, or how many you couldn't sell, and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit different than giving a feedback that this analysis was good, this recommendation is connected to the analysis or not. Therefore, there will be a little bit different dynamics in the team as well. And I've also seen teams which were complaining to about one of their members. Uh, they never complained in the analysis because then the tasks were much more linear, and here the task is much more feedback orientated and circular.
Yeah, and what would be your recommendation for a teacher who doesn't have these teams ready, and some of the people are let let's say more dominant among the participants than the others? Would you recommend to handpick the groups just to make sure it's evenly distributed, the strong personalities, or you just let it form their own groups? So what would be I know you are not following this, but what would be your recommendation for such a case?
The question is how much time he or she has to understand who are the dominant persons, because
Mhm.
if the course has a history, and then uh, it is known who these people are, then maybe this handpick method can work. But if this history is not there, then I would do a Belbin test or another test. It doesn't matter which one. It's just a personality test which uh, the the course leader can work with, and then according to the results uh, of the personality test, I would either handpick the groups or let them handpick with the information of the personality test, that which type of people should join which teams. uh, I never did that, put the strong persons in a team together, but sometimes if we think that there could be trouble of, let's say, two or three teams making a too big competition, too big rivalry between each other, then maybe that could be even a possibility. Although that could happen, that some of them will basically step away and let the most dominant to play. So, but I've never seen that. Sometimes I've seen one or two strong personalities, but it never turned out to be a big rivalry in any of my experiences.
Okay, just managing the time. Let's jump to the next topic, and that was the subversion, because you said you use the value-based management simulation, but there's an option for trainers to ask for subversions. And I remember that earlier you even asked for some certain dynamics. So the recently the version you used, it has a crisis element. So in a
Yeah,
certain period
COVID
of time,
came.
we will see it in the graphs as well. But what was your intention with that? Because why did you require that specific setup?
Yeah, that was just simulating COVID. So, COVID came, and I always tell the students that scenario planning is known by the 70s. Everyone who is interested, nobody uses. Then big crisis came, like the financial and then the economic crisis after that. A lot of companies implemented scenario planning. Then few good years, and everybody thinks that it's not necessary, so they don't do that again. And what I wanted to show them, that there could be some external factors which really changes the settings, and if the company is not trying to forecast not only one turn but more turns, so a little bit longer, then they could be in trouble. And it's pretty good to have, uh, let's say, options with you. And I never tell them anything
Mhm.
in the beginning. Then as the rounds came, I give them market information. So we have a Teams group, and I can give Teams messages to them. Uh, I hope it's not bad that I told you the software. So let's say I have a chat function, and I send them in the chat that uh, the market shows that there is a high demand, let's say, or uh, I explicitly tell them that it seems that because of the crisis situation, there will be some shrinking demand. And then, or if a supplier cannot deliver or something like that. And I think these kind of versions are pretty well or pretty good because the original game is also very nice, but you can really give a spice to that. And most of the computer games are basically an optimization game. So if they optimize everything, then definitely they come out pretty well. But the real problem is that in real life, if you have zero stock, zero inventory, and everybody's working at 100% capacity, that's most probably will not be the best strategy, because there would be either a new buyer coming and you can't satisfy its or their need. Then there would be some reputation losses and so on and so forth. So usually optimizing to 100% and using 0% slack is not the best way. So but in games, that gives you the best feedback, because if you do that, you will most probably win the game. So I try to give some challenges to let them understand that they cannot predict everything, but they should think ahead. They should have to have some let's say second or third options, and they should react. So it shouldn't be just let's say a regular thing that they can get used to. But sometimes there are new messages. Sometimes we can dry up the HR market, the labor market, so they can't really hire people. So they should really plan ahead, as that's what strategy, or at least the design school part of strategy is, that they should really have a strategic plan at the end of the day. And we can really simulate that with the value-based management simulation of Eduardo.
Yes, and here we have on the screen the chart of their sales performance, and you can clearly see that there was months, 1 month when it was really difficult for anybody to sell. So like the markets were closed, the shops were closed, the clients were not ready to initiate purchases on that time. Okay, these subversions are available, and also, as I referred, it could be requested. Jumping to the next topic is the schedule, and let me also come back to the relevant part of the screen. So when you planned it, you mentioned that you did like every second or third day. It's typically the same timing of the day until which they need to make their decisions in order to have the simulation gathering everybody's decisions and giving the feedback. How do you plan this? What is the best working approach for you and for your students? Which part of the week, which part of the day you typically use as a round closing?
Yeah, usually we agree with the students, and when I gave the example of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, that was basically the real experience. So it really depends on when we are in the semester, how many things they have, is there any special holiday, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of things to consider. But usually, what I expect from them is that they should gather together, which means it's only available either in the class time, but I don't have that time because I have classes there. So I will have to have my lecture, I have to have the seminar. We work together. So if in the class you can devote the class fully or mostly to Eduardo, then it could be class time, which I can do. Or it could be in the evening. So what I tell them, that guys, you should just come together in the evening. Definitely they will share some beers, have some fun, think it through, work it through, and then make the decision. So mostly I do it on the deadline to midnights. Uh, Maybe a little bit earlier deadline would be better, but somehow we stick to midnight, and it works. And usually what I do, because I also have a team to create some competition, but my team has always a predefined strategy, and I also have other colleague to have a team, and we always have predefined strategy uh, defined before the first round, and we stick to that strategy till the end. So it's not for us to be the best in the game, but to have a company which follows a certain strategy.
Yes, so
And
I think you are unique in this way that you use this possibility. I see other teachers are not that much opting for that, but yes, there's a possibility that even you run multiple teams, or your assistant teachers have do it. By the way, in the simulation there are robot players, so on the market is enough competition. But you sometimes also use these secondary teams, let's say, as a reserve. uh,
exactly,
how,
because
how did you
sometimes
use
somebody
them?
goes bankrupt. Yeah. Sure. That was the idea. So if somebody is too aggressive in the beginning and goes bankrupt in the third round, then what should I do? I usually set up at least 12 rounds. 15 is even better. So what can you do? You can't exclude them, or if you do that, that's really bad for everyone. So that's
Mhm.
why, as you say, to have reserve teams is amazing. Then you give up your passwords are generated, so you don't really share any kind of personal information, just give the team to them. It means they had a predefined strategy, so they couldn't redo the 3 or 4 or
Mhm.
whatever rounds in the beginning, but that's
So
it.
the
It's
story
even
the
better.
story is that in fact, although the company went bankrupt, they received an opportunity as a management team to take over another company, and you can even tell a story about that. Okay, yeah, it's
Sure.
really a great thinking. And if you look at as a teacher, what kind of task do you have? Okay, you plan your semester, you announce the exercise and the goals. You set up the schedule. Okay, you can adjust the timing, but the best not to touch it, because then people are get confused when is the next round. But other than that, what is your technical necessity to do during the simulation, or do you have
You're
any?
checking what they do.
Okay, so
So
so it's more like focusing on the results. And
exactly.
as there are a lot of statistics, I will add the screen. If I scroll down, can you please stop me and point out those graphs which are really meaning for you, and you follow them? Because here we have the
Uh,
profit before
uh,
tax and cash.
yeah, PBT definitely. It's one of the first I always check. Cash is important in the beginning, and usually if they follow a good strategy, then there won't be any cash problem. So then, most probably, in the second part or the third part of the whole simulation, cash will not be that important for me. EBITDA is extremely important. I always check it, and it's very important that there are market share numbers as well. If you can scroll down a little bit, because that's also uh, one of the top priorities. So I
Yeah,
usually go.
I just go down to the market data.
Yeah, I have a
And
different order than how the graphs are, because first I go to the PBT, then I go to the EBITDA, and then I go to the market share, and I check that in with which market share, how did they change, in which segment they have changed. Also, I check the advertisement amount, so how they try
the
to
marketing
create.
spendings, you mean?
Exactly. How they try to create a little bit more brand reputation and market awareness. And then I go back and then I check the motivation level, and also the experience of the workers who are creating the products. To
Okay,
be
so as
frank,
you
I
say
don't
that.
really check the average salary,
Mhm.
because usually it's there are some who a little bit changes it, but usually it has a very well defined track how it changes. If you can see that chart, maybe here, can you go to the average salary? I don't think. Yeah, that's one. The
Yeah,
next one. There is not too big of a variations, yeah, in the graph,
yeah.
at least in my
This is the
experience.
total what they provided. But by the way, as an economist, how can you comment that typically what we see is that they increase the salary and decrease the price.
Yeah, it's you know it really depends on that what kind of let's say extra material the students use. So if they create a known Excel sheet where they can simulate that on uh, on average product, how much is the uh, let's say the human resource cost, how much is the marketing expenditure, and so on, then it could make sense to do this. But mostly it's basically against the the regular business sense. And if they would have an amazing growth strategy, then that could really have a good outcome. But mostly they don't have, and mostly those who are doing that uh, start to register losses, and then in some rounds they go bankrupt. And that's why I'm telling them that in the competition, don't be too aggressive, because if they set the price very low, then the market tends to gravitate to that low price, and then everybody will have a very tough situation. And definitely salaries will not go down, input prices will not go down, and it means that at the end of the day you will have problems.
Yes, but of course, as this setup is working up to 50 teams plus, we have the robot players. It's really difficult to have an individual team to influence the overall. But presumably, it will be an own goal for them. Okay, the next question is what kind of questions do you typically receive from the students? So when they need a guidance, or is it normal that they ask you not about the simulation itself, but more about um, the topic they learn in the course, and they ask you as a teacher why these things are happening, or how is it in the real market? Do you receive such questions from the students?
I never did.
No, so they just concentrate on the goal, and how about the final evaluation? So you said they do a presentation.
Yeah. We have to tackle that, but maybe go back to the thing that there are the robot players. There definitely are, and it depends on the number of teams, how many market share the robot players will have. So if you would start a competition and there would be someone who would really adopt an aggressive strategy, then the average price will go down. I have
Mhm,
seen it several times, and it really happens.
mhm.
So and the real it's not problem. The real challenge here is that if somebody goes bankrupt, then it's not that the other one will get their market share. So their market share will be spread, and some of
Yes.
their market share will could be uh, taken by the competitors, but some of them, and according to my experience, most of them is taken by the robot players. So they can't really use let's say win lose logic that okay, I have just um, put somebody in a troubling situation and then I can overtake his market, because you can't really overtake the other team's market. You can only overtake some part of the other team's market. Okay, but evaluation, I think that's the most important part. Students believe, several students, even I would say that a lot of students believe that this game is won by sales, and that's one of a very good message that no, it's not. It doesn't have. It has a very small connection about sales. Sales is nice. Big market share is very nice, even if they understand after, because they get the market share data in every turn or every round. They only get company evaluations in some marked rounds like 12, and I believe 9, 12, and 15 or something like that. So they don't really get that feedback. But again, shareholders value is good, but that's not the end game. The end game, what I always have, I've created a balanced scorecard approach. So I tell them, definitely balanced scorecard is very important if you are talking about strategy and strategic controlling. According to strategic controlling, that's one of the most values and easy tools. So in a game like this, there are most data available to create a good balanced scorecard approach. So what they will have to do, they will have to fill out form where I'm asking about the numbers they've got, and there are the financial, definitely the financial element, the financial dimension, where it is important how much they sold. So what is the revenue or the profit? Even more important, the shareholder value. Then there's the customer dimension. Then they will have to talk about market share, and they will have to talk about the marketing spendings. Then according to the operative or the production related dimension, they will have to talk about logistics, like warehousing and production costs and defect and these kind of variables. And on the learning and on the learning dimension, learning and development dimension, they have to give me numbers about the motivation of their employees, their experience level, and the salary they pay. And according to all those numbers, I create a ranking, and according to the ranking, I create a final ranking. So those who have the best ranking, so the lowest number will be the first. And uh, they come to the last class, or usually it's the class before the last class, with big expectations, or with big self confidence that okay, we have won it, come on, you can learn from us. Then we check, and it turns out that no, you did not win the game. You had just the highest market share, or you just had the highest growth, or something like that. But if you take the big picture, the full picture, then the full picture shows a different part. And that's why it makes really it's really interesting the game, that with which strategies, what kind of trade-offs they do, and how those trade-offs are combined with the others' decisions, and at the end comes to the outcome, to the end game.
So,
So
so it means that
yeah,
you are selecting certain indicators according to the target of your course, and you are not just taking one or two out of the existing available one, but you, as I understand, you make a really comprehensive structure of evaluation with this
yeah, it's
balanced
about
scorecard.
10 to 12 variables from the game, and in the presentation they will have to tell us what their strategy was.
Mhm.
Then what were the challenges they had? So when did they have team problems, or team challenges? What did they learn from the changes of the external environment? Did they have to change their strategy or not? If yes, how did they change, and why? So there is also a process-wise approach to understand the whole process and giving a feedback. And it's, for the learning, it's extremely important to have this feedback cycle. So they have to think about it, they have to talk about it, and they have to do a presentation at the end. So they do the process approach, and then they give us the numbers, and then we compute from the numbers of all teams, and then we announce the winners. It basically doesn't matter who win for
Mhm.
me. For the students, it's always an important thing that they want to be the first, or some of them want to be the winner of the competition. And I also distribute bonus points for the whole game. So bonus points varies according to the position. If somebody goes bankrupt, zero bonus points. Definitely, it's they failed the game. But for those who can go till the end, then they would get some extra based on
So
their
this bonus
performance.
points relates to the course grading, right? So when
Exactly,
you, yeah, okay,
it's
okay,
included. Yes.
yeah, okay. Uh, if you think about your latest experiment end of last year, um, on in that particular group, what do you think the major points of taken away was for those people who participated? So because you saw how they reacted, you saw their results, and also there was a conversation and presentation. What do you think they gained from this experiment? So that particular group, if you can recall
I
the.
think that was a special time because we didn't tell them that there will be market changes.
Mhm.
So they didn't expect that COVID will break out and the demand will decrease. So the impact of external environment was a huge. Although this is something which everybody knows, right? Because we live in a world and everybody knows that that's important. But again, experience it in your own income statement is a very different thing than experience it on some newspaper news and reading some ideas of others.
Was it
So
a shock for them when they faced it
it
that it
was.
would happen? Because they said, "Oh yeah, it's easy busy. We just go like
No, no, no.
saying
It
at
was
the
it was a
everyone." Yeah.
shock. They didn't expect it, and if you do an investment, you expect a growth, and then you have a huge decline. It was not just a 10% decline; it was a huge decline. Then it really
Yeah, and then what
is.
happened to the teams, of course, is that in that case the warehouse was full with finished products, and then they were carrying on this extra inventory for a while. After that, to get rid of, you needed to go cut the prices, but then so okay, so it is a lot of
Yeah,
waves, I
and it's
guess.
always tough because to end production. Sometimes you in the game, sometimes you have to stop production or at least decrease production for a round. But it hurts your efficiency. It hurts everything on business wise. But you really have to calculate which way to go, and sometimes it really makes sense to decrease it. And it's a very tough decision for the students because as I said, they try to optimize, and usually warehousing costs are not that included on that optimization. So that's one of my um, let's say funny takeaways that uh, most of the groups are not calculating about the warehouse cost. They know that there is something like that, but they don't really take it into the consideration. And if they would, then they would definitely have different the decisions.
Yes, and you mentioned me last time we talked that the typical mistakes also related to the capex decisions. So like when they think, oh yeah, let's have a new warehouse, let's have a new machinery, and then they just forget that what are the consequences of that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. The new warehouse, I've seen so many times. They think because there is the number. It's over 100%. Okay, that's the worst thing. It cannot be over 100%. Why to use contractors, right? And then they just invest into the warehouse.
Yeah, because what happens in
But
the
that
simulation, if you are over 100%, you are forced to use an outside service provider, which is costly,
yeah,
but
but
it's still
not
not
that
not a
costly.
big, not that, yeah, because
Exactly.
yeah.
If you
Okay, but
calculate it.
yeah. Yeah, another thing I like to ask is the segments, because we have customer segments for customer segments, and they can have their marketing strategy related to these segments. How how much they use this as in their strategy? What is your experience? I
That's
mean, the
maybe one of
students.
the easiest way to differentiate yourself. So
Hmm.
some teams go to the mass market, some teams go to the high end, and what we always see that the price sensitive and the brand sensitive are some of a gray zone to the students.
Hmm.
So either they don't capture it well, or I don't know why, but sometimes it's not going the way they expect, and then they realize how big that market is or how good they are there, and then they use that, and that's it. So
Okay,
they
Nicholas.
use it definitely.
Yeah, thank you for the overview so far. And my last question or area of discussion is that what do you plan for the future? Because you learned a lot from it, also yourself. But if you think about future setups, future situations, what kind of other setups are in your mind or you imagine it would be great to have?
Yeah, it's really about time constraints for myself. So let's imagine a scenario when I would have a little bit more time than I have today. Then definitely I would do different setups for different real life scenarios. So, for example, if you talk about the Hungarian market, then the Hungarian market there is a huge demand in the labor market and not that big supplies. So it means that the the prices, the labor prices, and the hiring potential could be modulated. So I would create a little bit, change the simulation on the way that they should really feel that there is a constraint and they should do something to be able to hire those people. Also, you can really create simulations on maybe an increased market, not only the thing what we did, that we shrink that, because sometimes there could be government incentive program which would help in the to make cheaper or less expensive capex situation. So there could be some things
So
like that
certain
which
market
I would do.
segments temporarily open up. Maybe they are still price sensitive, but they became ready to buy
Yeah,
for
that could be, and also there could be some incentives. So
mm,
which let's say we could say that try to capture a little bit more the real life situation of the market, and then try to change some of the factors there. And you can only change it for a few turns. That's the basic idea, because then definitely there will be changes, consequences, and so on and so forth. So some of those uh, or parameters you have, it could have some changes to make the simulation a little bit more challenging for the students, because definitely if they know the original game, then some extra will increase the challenge.
mm. Okay, thank you very much for this overview. Is there any point I missed to ask and you still like to mention?
I don't think so, but I still have a message. If somebody is watching this video, I would highly suggest you to not only implement the competition in your class, but have at least one company for you as well. So usually we have four companies, and there is my co-teacher, my teaching assistant, who got the companies, and it's also a good bonding experience for us as well. So
Mm,
not only playing the game, and it can be efficient for the professor's point of view, because you create a turn at 5 minutes before the end of the turn, and you create the next one, let's say 20
yeah,
minutes
but
after,
I know
and that's it.
you tend to love to play with it, but you also constrain yourself because of a predefined strategy you mentioned, not to be.
Sure,
You don't
sure.
want to win in the game. You just want to participate and see what is their view.
Yeah, it would be really unfair,
Mhm.
because I have more information and all the professors
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have more information. So that's why I think that's the only way to go. By the way, I didn't invent this. When I was an exchange student in my student life, then there was a game. It was a competition, and the professor said that he will have a predefined strategy, and it was really interesting because I won that competition and the professor was second.
Hmm.
So he had his strategy, and no matter what, and
Hmm.
definitely it was a very good uh, self strengthening feedback for me, that at the end of the day that happened. But as a professor, you shouldn't win the game, because that's really demoralizing.
Yeah, Miklos, thank you very much for spending time with us and dedicating your valuable time to this session. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Bye bye.
Bye bye.